Mukta Sangraha means doing a deed without getting attached to it.
Ji.
And so the consequences will not affect the person.
Yes, ji. Mukta Sangraha. Yeah.
Okay.
Ji. Yes, it's like a free union. Hariom Masarti ji. So yes, it's like a free union. Somewhere you are free and yet united. Where you are connected with the person and yet you are not binding the person and the person is not binding you. If you look at in relationships also. That is the best relationship where there is a wonderful understanding, there is confidence, there is trust, but there is no possessiveness also, which is sometimes a problem in relationship also. And freedom is there, yet united and yet free. That is what we can look at as Mukta Sangha, which Krishna recommends. English, we have only one word, detachment, which is sometimes very less and dry also a little bit. But we are now using Hariom ji, Hariom Gita ji. So I think we are ready. Let us begin with the invocation. Saraswati namastubhyam varade kamarupini vidyarambham karishyami siddhe bhavatu me sada mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkrupatamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam Vasudevam Sudam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. Hariom. So yes, we are ready to continue our journey into what is the 7th Adhyay. Can someone recollect what is it that we saw last? We stopped at shloka number 3. Yes, please. Can anyone recollect what is it that we saw last? Yes, please. We're going to start from the 4th shloka. Anything you can recollect from our yesterday's session so we can join. Yes, please.
Krishna says that among the thousands who strive to realize me, very few will be on the path.
Yes.
And among them also, one may reach the goal.
Yes. Ji. So, yes, that was one thing about, there are thousands of seekers of the divine, and of those 1,000 only very few, maybe 1 in 1,000 may reach. It's not because it's some kind of a stiff competition. It is just that our human nature, our swabhav is like that. We cannot sustain that intensity, and after a while it starts off with like effervescence. People start off on the spiritual path, and after a while that force reduces. They don't feel the need. So it's all right, let me enjoy my desires. It's all right, let me become lost in karma bandha. It's a conscious choice or sometimes unconscious choice because of one's attachment to the senses. There's something in our human nature that sometimes, binds us also, it frees us also. We have to recognize what is freeing us and what is binding us. The moment we realize that, we're not going to go astray. That is one thing which is certain. Yes, please. Anybody would like to add further?
Yeah, we were saying something about
Yes, University, and then I'll come to Vasudeva.
Thank you. We also saw that if the situation is not conducive, one should not get discouraged.
Yeah, okay, yes. So, yes, that is one thing. So, one thing we saw about having courage in the path, moving ahead with irrespective of the outer situation. Okay, yes, sir, Srinivas. Next, Vasudevanji, yes, please. Yes, sir.
You're discussing if somebody is on the spiritual path and they drop out, whether it will be totally lost efforts will be lost.
Yes, and what was it, Vasudevanji? Is there something like this one need to worry about what's going to happen? Is it going to become more dangerous because this person is on spiritual path and he has...
then he abandons, then he loses both spiritual path as well as worldly path.
Yes, so...
But
that was
not
doubt.
Concern.
That was his doubt. And was it the case? What was...
He said it'll never go waste.
Never go waste.
future he will
Yes.
regain,
Ji. Yes.
whether he'll be born again or
Yes. Yes.
have a family or
Okay.
reach a circumstance which will be conducive to further.
Yes, yes. And there's no regression on the spiritual path. There's what we can say no regression. It is like experience in life. It keeps adding on. You stop getting new experience in a particular field does not mean you lose everything that you have got. Experience.
I like to add here that sometimes many people get into the spiritual path not because they look at somebody and they follow somebody's advice, they follow, they get into the spiritual path.
Ji,
Long
ji.
time.
Yeah.
So sometimes better they leave and pursue the normal path. When the time is right, they come back to that path.
Yeah, and Gita Krishna is saying
own
for us,
condition, not because of somebody
yes,
else's
not
or
by
because
force. Okay.
you are attracted by something else in the spiritual path. Not
Yes, yes. Actually, it is everybody has that freedom, and what we see Krishna trying to even erase the spiritual and material path difference between the two. Krishna is trying to bring it like yes, sannyas in the life as well, which he is recommending. Because ultimately, there is only one path of life. Everybody is going to live. They are born, and then they are going to go in the same direction, consciously or unconsciously. But we have a nature to sometimes become unconscious. We become dull. And after a while, we tend to lower our conscience. Something in our nature which is not in our control as well. So maybe that is sadhana to keep that flame alive, to keep that intensity alive. Again, for that, again, we may require courage to always be vigilant and moving ahead. So yes, please. Anybody would like to add further?
he's trying to merge both karma yoga
Yes.
and
Ji.
so
Yes, ji. Ji, sir.
I have read somewhere that when you leave a spiritual path and afterwards, when you again realize and again you join back, then it is more difficult. The first time when you do it, you are drawn and God's grace is much more. But later on, it is not so. I mean, I have read that.
So what would you advise? You would say better not walk on the spiritual path if you are not having the intensity. There is a danger of yoga bhrashta, as Arjun says, or what is it, Milanji?
No, I was seeking clarification from you that is it so?
No, Krishna is actually, it's just that you will not get into the, what we can say, it may take some time to get back into the rhythm, but there's no fear. It's like I just gave my own example. My grandmother had told me, yes, you have been yawning so many times while having breakfast. The next Janma, you are not going to be a human yoni, you will become a pig only. And I was so sure. It was somewhere as a child, I thought now the story is over. Now what is the use? Then I started, why should I wake up for Diwali also? Anyway, why I'm going to become pig? What is there? Why early morning I should wake up? These are all sometimes games of the minds that we play also. I would not want to comment on which book you have read it, but Krishna is at least answering Arjuna's question right now, because that was the reason Arjuna was feeling, no, I should not walk on this path. I may have greater consequence, some kind of side effects because of going here and then. But one more meaning could be is that it's like one side you are trying to get, it's like even addiction. No? People sometimes get out of addiction and then again get addicted. Somebody has a habit of smoking. He somehow got out of smoking and then again goes back to smoking, then what's going to happen? The tendency inside of the person, now he'll have to summon even greater courage because already once he's walked away. It is something like that. But it is not because of the path, it's because of the nature of the individual, what we can say, Milanji. But one may face difficulty, one may not. It is not a, what we can say, universal rule, of course. Yes, Ji. Can we continue then? Yes, please. So this is one thing we saw. There's no yoga bhrashta is what Krishna says. And these are stories. Some stories don't get over, but we need not worry. We do not understand what happens, what was before our birth. We don't know what's going to happen afterwards. We need to just go on doing our works. And ultimately, we know that the principle of Satyameva Jayate, it is ultimately truth that is going to manifest and win. And something like that, the Atman's journey also goes on. Many times, children in a very early age, they are born with unbelievable talent. Some parents actually shared one experience where a child as early as 4 or 5 is reciting some mantra which they never taught the child. They are wondering where did this child learn from? Or this child would get excited at the temple somewhere. Why is this child getting this kind? They will not understand. Or some of the child would talk about some very crazy thing, that this house is like this, that thing is this way, and everybody would wonder, how did this child speak about it, or how did this person know? So it is something like that, but many times it is only in the first few years, after which the smriti is also lost. And but it is a journey, and then there are many who have become conscious of it also. So our yogis, many of them, some of them could see births before, some could see births after. There was once yogi who would predict, who would say what he could see. They would say he knew what is going to happen in the next birth for the individual. A lot of people would go and meet him. So anyway, we are not actually going into that right now. What we are seeing is the journey is ongoing. We are going, and it is that some kind of experience that we are gathering, we are going to pass on. It's going to get carried forward. We will continue our journey from where we have stopped. It's not that we've got ahead and now because you came on this path and because you were not successful, you are going to get extra punishment or something like that. Krishna is not talking about it. He's not instilling any sort of fear from the beginning. He's actually trying to remove all fears inside of Arjuna so he can become the true champion that he is meant to be. So we're ready to enter into our next adhyaya. Before we begin, let us look at the illustration. The illustration for this adhyaya number 7. Yes, please. Can someone describe what is it? Is it visible? Yes, please.
What I see is one bird is trying to feed the other bird.
Okay.
Is a mother feeding the child, the mother bird.
Okay. Milanji says she's seeing one bird feeding another. Rajshriji says it's a bird, one mother feeding the child. All right. Anybody would like to add?
Saying finest and pure. He's feeding it without any expectation. You know.
Without any expectation. Okay.
Just feeding, wants to feed the father.
Because yes, it is the feeling, and it is something which we see in nature also. Sometimes most beautiful things are visible in nature as well. So if you see that the one who is receiving is looking a little bulkier than the one who is feeding, but that doesn't make a difference. It is the duty that person is doing without that bird is feeding without an expectation. Anybody would like to add anything more? After which we'll conclude and enter into our next shloka. Yes, please.
This looks like, it's a simple act of feeding or receiving, and simple things are more pure and they are easy to understand because the picture doesn't show any complicated things here. It's as simple, like we can very easily see that. And
do we see God in this, Deepti ji?
Yes.
Or do we see divinity?
What I'm trying to say is that simple things are easy to, because we always make life complicated. We think everything in a complex way.
Okay.
So
probably the simplest things, whatever is pure in its essence, there we can probably see divinity maybe.
Divinity,
All right. Okay, Deepti ji. Anybody wants to add further? After which we will...
Yes, I think I see that as the child is dependent on mother, she's taking care of her all the needs. So similarly, if we depend on God and just surrender to Him, He is going to take care of all of
right. Okay. Ji, Dr. Poonam ji is adding a beautiful bhavartha to this image where it is, if you can surrender, you be like the child, the God will, divine will provide what is required. Just let the divine provide and receive. Learn to open your mouth and receive when the divine is feeding. That alone is sufficient. Many times we are only too busy not to receive. So that is also a nice, interesting thing. If you look at the tagline below it, it says, whatever is finest and pure in the world, we can simply understand and recognize it to be essentially divine. So what is divinity? Where are we going to search for divinity? Well, around us also we can find divinity in that which is pure, that which is fine and essential. Sri Aurobindo has written a beautiful poem in which he says, in the coy smile of the bride, in the nature, and so many places. And he goes on, he says, the hand that set Jupiter spinning spent all its cunning to fashion a curl, meaning the same hand which is making Jupiter, such a big planet, revolve at such high speed, all heavenly bodies. So that same intelligence, the same cunning it used for fashioning a simple curl. So a curl also, if you look at the perfection in a curl, how beautiful it looks. So everywhere that divinity can be visible if you just go to the source. Probably this is what the Upanishadic Rishis also went on. In the Isha Upanishad, they call upon the divine only to give the strength. So we'll continue with our lesson. They call upon the divine, invoking Pushan, to give me the strength. Recognize yatte kalyanattavam tatte pashyami. Let me see the divinity in all that is beautiful, in all that is wonderful. Even Tukaram had said, wherever I see divinity, there my hands will fold like this. Divyat vachi jeti prachiti tethe kara majhe zurati. Means where I see divinity, I will not hesitate in folding my hands and bowing because I can recognize that. So this divinity everywhere is something which is a important concept which we can see, and probably in the purest things. That is what let us see now. Because is there divinity is a question sometimes we feel when we see some of the things that happen and we wonder what is it, where is God, how can this happen? But in that time also, if you can see, because a lot of people had this question, and this God question is need not put a full stop to that question. It's all right, you can have that question, but don't close that question, because then we see how Narendra became Swami Vivekananda. Agar tum ho to ye kyun hai was his question. If you are, then why is this? And from there he went on seeing even in darkness he could see the divine, he could see everywhere. That's a realization of an individual, a raw realization from experiences. So we can also need not stop with the question, but let us begin now. We will see what is the connection. So in nature, anything that is pure, that is perfect, there we can essentially recognize that it is divine and recognize the divine presence. Why not enjoy the divinity that you can see and experience? That is also a art of perception also, to understand it, to receive what is there in the world. So let us go on. We go into the next shloka, the fourth one. Bhumi rapo nalo vayuhu kham mano buddhirevacha ahankaram mitiyam me bhinna prakriti rashtada. So the concept of ashtada prakriti has been introduced, eightfold divisions. Krishna says here, the elements, the Panchamahabhutas, the elements earth, fire, water, ether and air, and the senses, mind, reason and ego are there. Functioning as the eightfold divisions of mind, on all beings, these impositions, nature tries to assign. So Krishna is saying this 5 elements are there. Then there is man, then there is reason, and there's ahankar. So Panchamahabhutas, the man, the buddhi and ahankar. These are 8 components, or we can say our physical software or body is made up of these 8 components only. However a person may be, whatever age the person may be, whichever city, whichever part of the world, however the constitution of the living being may be, it has got all of these: man, buddhi, ahankar and Panchamahabhutas. These are the eightfold divisions of mind. And what do? Well, these are the eightfold divisions that are functioning and imposing their bondage. They are causing karma bandhana. Our mind is making us worry. Our mind is bringing us in trouble. Mind is then directing our indriyas, or mind is converting our buddhi into a different action, or ahankar is attaching to what little we understand and make us do actions. Sometimes we don't know why we are running in a particular direction, but we go on running in that direction only, not realizing, because we are not conscious. But this aspect is there in all of us. The Ashtada Prakriti have been assigned. Anybody disagrees with this aspect of Pancha Mahabhutas inside all of us? Or how is it we can agree? Because I don't see, we've had different stories of people suddenly bringing out fire in cartoons. And they say, yes, elements are inside. Is this some kind of picturesque description? Or we can say we are made of Pancha Mahabhutas? Yes, please. How is it we are made of Pancha Mahabhutas? Anybody would like to share something? Anything? So we have...
Yes. Our body, we can experience the Panch Mahabhutas. Like we can feel the heat.
We can feel the heat. Okay, there's a Agni inside. Everybody agrees with that.
But we can express their saliva. We can feel that. saliva.
90% of our, more than 95% our body is water only, we can say. Same is with the heat inside. Yes, they say in Ayurveda, Jaఠaragni is there. Then otherwise we know we have this HCl secretions taking place inside of us. A kind of heat is only, our digestion takes place, our body is, we have our own internal temperature also which is required, otherwise it's not possible. So fire, water, then
Our breath, the air.
Vayu, is it not? Vayu is inhaling, prana, apana, movement is taking place. And how is it? In Ayurveda they call it Vata. Many of the diseases are because of these roga, imbalance, where Vata is movement of these inner winds are imbalanced. So yes, we have Vata also. Yes, and what else? What about the others?
The solid mass, that is the earth.
Earth, that's the earth. And then there is one more, which is the ether.
Space.
Yes.
Body is having space.
Yeah, intercellular space is full of our body. You just take out the intercellular spaces in our body, we will become what we don't know, so small, our entire constitution will crumble. But it is, isn't it crazy, this Panchamahabhutas, whoever has made it, do you think it's a very crazy design, whoever has designed this, if there is a designer? Yes, please.
No, because if
not
I
crazy.
say that it's not, yeah, because suppose if I say Ayurveda Pitta and Vata, if there is only one element which is dominating,
Okay.
the whole system would crumble. So
Correct,
it's
correct.
like a balance of things.
No, but
That's why,
is it not crazy that one side of we have in our, even if you see physiologically, there's a sympathetic nervous system, there's a parasympathetic one. Both are fighting. One tries to elevate, other tries to reduce. Because they are fighting, then we have what they call homeostasis. The moment one takes command, and it balance is lost, we become sick. We have different diseases, our functioning gets destroyed. We cannot call it crazy. Whoever is made is one crazy person. No.
I think because the space which we are living in, the
Okay.
other part of the nature, and we have to like coexist. So if we are not part of that, then I mean, if we don't align with what is there in the outer space, I mean,
Okay.
how our body is going to survive?
Ji, and there's an interesting Vithala tu Veda Kumbhar. This is what Vithala is called. You are a mad potter. This is a bhakta. Bhakta can sometimes, with that bhakti, it is all is fair in bhakti, they say, like something like that. He says, you are a mad potter. And why is he saying you are a mad potter? He says, like a potter, you are playing with these 5 elements and creating this human body. He says, Pani Mati Ujeda Vara. Tutsa Misarati Sarva Prasara, meaning like all these 5 elements, you are mixing, making a khichdi of these 5 elements. Look at what a potter does. He takes earth, then he mixes water, and he heats it, then he gives, then air is also required only, then it has to be dried, and this ether is inside also, outside also. And with this, he creates a pot. And a very beautiful, that song, Bhajan is there, where he goes on, like you only create, then you only break. What is this logic you are getting by creating, making? And each shape is different, each one is different, yet they are made of the same thing. You are only the maker. Then also he says, see this pot, some pot receives fire, other pot gets the chance to store butter. What is this? What is wrong? What was this pot? What was the mistake of this pot? Well, you are just one mad potter who is playing a game, is what the Bhakta says. So is it not something like that? The divine has used these Panchamahabhutas. Our body is made of these 5 elements. There is the mind, there is the ahankar, there is the buddhi. All these 3, the combination of all of these makes us what we are. What we are today, it is because of this combination. But the thing is, it is not sometimes these, sometimes nature, there's a fight, a difference between Prakriti of our Sanatana Dharma and Prakriti of the Western world, or how it is looked at, nature. Even Western world did not really have nature until they got this from the different traditions, of course, like the Greek and everywhere, but they called nature as a god. But our Prakriti is the divine element, but Prakriti is also having some certain undivine aspects also, or certain aspects which are not required. And those are these which have to be corrected. Prakriti is a combination of everything that is perfect and also imperfection. Sadhana is for removing the imperfection, because sometimes Prakriti puts its stamp on us. It is like, I do not want my lazy nature, but it is inside of me, then I'll have to work on it. I cannot surrender and say, this is my nature, I'm like this, or I have this particular ahankar. I'll have to work on it. I cannot say, Prakriti is responsible, I did not do anything, blame Prakriti. I don't change it. It is something like that. So we have a Swabhava because of all of these, but then we also have to do sadhana because Prakriti is putting its imposition on us. That is one thing we see. Krishna is saying they are these eightfold divisions, Ashtada Prakriti, they are imposing their stamp of domination on us, is what Krishna says. He goes on. Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. But these divisions, eightfold, are still inferior. For my energies that become life force are superior. O mighty armed warrior, know you must and behold, only a fraction of my forces all material beings hold. Only a fraction of my forces all material beings hold. He says, still this Ashara Prakriti that I have described, it is still, he says, the inferior portion. There is one more which is higher. There's like a higher energy, there's a lower energy. And like that, this is the higher aspect which he is introducing now. So yes, these eightfold divisions are the lower divisions. What is higher? He says, that energy of mind which enters into a human being, becoming the life force, that is the superior one. And he says, understand that the whole universe is just holding an infinitesimal fraction. In physics, when we use this term infinitesimal, it is like not 0.1, it's 0.00001. So many zeros are there, it's as good as negligible. So the energy that is required to power the universe is just a small fraction of my own energies, is what Krishna is saying. Now we are hearing about our universe not being everything, our universe being a portion of something which is very vast. We do not know. Scientists have different theories, and they say there may be another world which will be like Earth also, or there will be somewhere else, another galaxy. We do not know. How much we know is only a small portion. Like even our DNA, we know only so much portion of our DNA. Most of the portion is unknown. So something like that, Krishna is saying, this world is just a fraction. So don't suddenly say, I know God, I want to understand. It's better you understand whatever laws you are using and functioning with, and try to understand them better and probably go to that higher truth. Krishna says, only a fraction of my energy is sufficient to power the world. And this force of mine is what which enters into a human being, becoming a life force. That is the beauty of the human life as well. Inside of us, by they say, Nainam Chandati Shastrani, that aspect inside of us, that tattva is there. Our body will go through difficulties. We'll have this Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, all these things will go on. But inside there is something, probably when we realize that, then we can also laugh like the Vedantic Rishis and say, Soham Asmi. That is a realization that must be got. It is not something which we need to hear from somebody. It's an experience, but it is there, and each of us, when it is there inside all of us, can we say somebody is superior or somebody is lower? If that Atman is there inside all of us, can we say that? If you look on the level of the Atman, no. We're all equally divine, and we have the same potential of manifesting that divinity. And again, the divine will break all rules also. Why do we have to worry that this way we have to go or that particular way? And the realization happens. But so there are these two folds. Prakriti is having this higher and lower, which is the higher is the divinity, and then the other one is the Ashtada Prakriti. Let us go on. Etadyonini bhutani sarvani tyupadharaya aham katsnasya jagataha prabhavaha pralayastatha. So if my one fraction can create the universe, another small energy is required to even close and destroy the universe, can bring pralaya, is also what Krishna is saying. He says, know these two types of energies to be mine, manifested in all living things of my creation divine. So my creation is divine. It is essentially divine. I have created it. He says, and these two energies are at play, the forces are at play in the world. For I am the creator of this creation, and it is also I who am its destruction. So I am the creator, I am the destroyer, is what Krishna is saying. We go on to the next shloka. Mattaha parataram. Yes, please. Somebody wishes to add something. Ji.
Yeah. Since physics we have learned.
Yes, Ji.
It is true that nothing can be moved. Even the force is applied from external. It's a force is external.
Yeah.
So this was the whole universe when it is a moving entity. So there has to be some external force which is moving this universe.
Yes, some force.
Physics has already established it.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
some external force has to be there, which is moving this universe. Otherwise, it cannot move.
Yes, yes. But physics has not been able to prove God's presence, is it, Mr. University? They go in search of this Higgs boson for a few fraction of a nanosecond or something. They are able to identify this. They call it a God particle. But the problem is, we are trying to, with our infinitesimal fraction of knowledge, we are trying to grasp that which is beyond. But my physics professor was wonderful, a great source of inspiration for so many of us. He was actually from Loyola College. He had retired and he would come to school to teach after retirement. And he would take so much pain. Then he would allow all types of questions. Like we would even go in lunch breaks after quickly eating our lunch because he would wait for us inside of his room. He will answer the questions and then he would go away. That time he said, until the day physics is able to prove the absence of God, till that day, he says, I will worship God. Till physics is able to conclusively prove that there is no God, there is no divine force, or there is nothing. That was his speaking, because there is a force, something is taking place. There is this world which is going on. And I think even physics talks about origin with a big bang, and then there's a big crunch. There is pralaya in physics also. It's creation and this Srishti cycle. Stars are born, stars get destroyed, they explode, and the entire story is there. Life of cycle of star also we learn. So this is there, this is the Srishti, and he says, I am the creator, I am the destroyer. Need not be. Science, spirituality are not on opposite ends. There is no fight. In ancient times, they were understood. Even art was science, art was spirituality, art was having all of it. Everywhere they could, that oneness was visible. Let us go on. Krishna goes on, the seventh shloka. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam rotam sutre manigana. This is another beautiful word. Sutre manigana, which Krishna says. It's like let us first see the meaning and then go to it. Oh Arjuna, there is not that exists beyond me. For nothing can more supreme be. For all existence, I am the connecting seed, like a thread necklace, like the thread linking the pearl necklaces, every bead. So like a thread, which is holding all the different pearls together. He says, I am the sutra. I am that thread which is linking all the beautiful pearls. If we are all different monies, well, the sutra inside of us is Krishna. Only the same thread is there inside all of us, he says. And there's nothing that is beyond me. For nothing can be more than this. It's the supreme. Why we call it supreme? Because there is nothing greater. There is nothing beyond that. And he says, I am that seed. I am that connecting seed. And this word we'll see again. Bijam, aham asmi, or I am the bija, I am the seed. It says, I am that sutra inside all of us. Probably if we identify that sutra, we have got the entire sutra of life in our hand. If we can just understand that. Let us go on. Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi surya yoho pranavaha sarva vedeshu shabdaha ke paurusham darshu. In the flavor and the taste of the waters, it is I. So if you see the rasa, even in the jala also, wherever, if you take water also, I think you drink water from your home and you go and drink water elsewhere, you will know the difference in the flavor. You say, no, this is that. I have grown up, this is this water. Or you go to Ganga Maya and you're able to just touch that water into your eyes, or you're just going to, taste that. It will be a very different experience. So he says, I am there in even the flavor. Water also has its flavor and original essence of that water. It is I. Water is keeping us alive. And I am there in that, is what Krishna says. I am the light of the sun and the moon in the sky. So the light of mine is, reflecting. The sun is just probably receiving light from me and transmitting, is what the many yogis understand when they say the Gayatri mantra. Sri Aurobindo had beautifully described this. His Gayatri mantra was called Savita Surya Gayatri or Savitri Gayatri mantra. Savitra Gayatri mantra means Om Tat Savitur Varam Rupam Jyoti Parasya Dhimahi Yanna Satyena Deepaye. There's that Surya which is there beyond this sun. There's a sun beyond this sun, as the Vedic Rishis also understand. The sun that we see is just a one part. Behind this sun, there is another sun which is emitting its light, is what the Vedic Rishis understood. Something is there behind this also, whose light is being manifesting in the physical sun. So they talked about that. He says, I am that light which is there in the sun, the same light that is reflected in the moon. The primordial word of Genesis, I am Om, the Vedic sound. So again, Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu. Om is also called the Pranava, the beginning. Many times, many mantras, they recognize the importance of Om, so they begin it with Om only. They start with Om because Om is the Pranava, is the beginning. Sarva Vedeshu. I am that Vedic sound. The manhood in man, and in ether's subsonic element I am found. So I am there in this ether, in the subtle subsonic element of ether also, because it is that connection of the sound with the universe is very clear. And here that Om is considered a secret, and I am there in this subsonic element of the ether also is what he says. And inside of man, what is that manliness inside? But that also is man only, is what Krishna is saying. It is I am there powering everything. He goes on, Punye Gandha Pruthivyam Cha Tejas Chasmi Vibhavasau Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. Punyo Gandha Pruthivyam Cha. He says, on the earth, I am that purest original fragrance. And for the fire that burns, I am the heat and radiance. I am the vitality that nourishes all being living. I strengthen the ascetic who his ascetics is performing. So I am that purest original fragrance. Have anybody heard of this ittar? Attar or ittar, how they call it? What is it?
Yes.
What is that, Ji?
That is fragrance.
Fragrance. Scent. But what is the difference? Because we get perfumes outside also. How is this different from the perfumes that
It's
are available?
considered as the purest form. It's like when we offer it to the God, we're offering something
Okay, we
pure.
offer
Like
it
any
to God.
perfume, it's like it's offering and we give it like pure. It is even a single touch or not even a fraction of a drop is sufficient. It's like that.
It is sufficient, is it not? One drop of the people who have used. There are so many ittars. We have so many. We have rose, we have sandalwood, we have henna. So many of these ittars are there. Champa is there. So many. But it is original. And anybody knows how it is made? The making of it. Actually, if you see, like
Flowers.
yeah. Okay, flowers. Then flowers also. There's also metti. Metti also. Earth also is a type of ittar made from metti. We can say this. It is like
What I
a.
have observed is that ittar has a very peculiar fragrance. Like it is not like the usual perfume one.
Yes,
It
yes.
has a
is
very
original.
raw fragrance. Like you apply it, you rub it here, and then you
Yeah.
smell it. It is very, very different, very, very raw, and very, very what do you call it? You get the nature thing out of it. That's what I've
Feeling. You
observed.
can actually see the rose. We get this. We actually get a picture of the rose in front of us. Yes, Srinivas, you want to ask?
It is prepared out of the ingredients from different material which give that particular fragrance. It is separated from people by some process,
Distillation.
and it is made out of it.
Yes. Srinivas. There are absolutes. There are what we can say perfectly distilled extracts. So many of them. And for me, fortunately, I was able to go and meet the actual maker who had been in some parts of India. We have people who are doing it from the time of the kings. So for a small, we can say just one small bottle of that, say 10 ml or 5 ml, we do not know how many roses are required for a rose ittar. And then they would receive truckloads of roses, and from that, the smallest one. So, and that is what is beautiful. But then there also, now if you see the market, we don't know if it is the original one. There is also an art of looking at it and identifying, because it can be diluted with anything. And so what is the essential one? Because one drop is sufficient to overwhelm our senses. One drop in one room of the purest one, can spread that smell of rose throughout the entire room. That is how it is. And we've had marigold. My Guruji only wanted us to do an experiment. So overnight for 12 hours, we were continuously using that steam distillation. And all we got was just very little. It was hardly 4 or 5 ml. But it was an experience which was unbelievable. It was something, how can that essence be extracted into something? It was just naturally extracted. How is it? Just by heat, and then that essence comes and you can collect it. How is it possible? Well, this is what Krishna is saying. I am that original fragrance. That fragrance is there inside of every living individual and entity. I am that fragrance, he says. And as I think Deeptiji said, we offer it to the divine because we want to offer something pure. And we recognize that as purity. We say, yes, we understand this purity, we recognize its divinity, so we offer it. Many times we have seen about dhyana. Well, many times while people enter into dhyana, at the end of dhyana, suddenly they get certain fragrances which they don't understand from where it comes. Sometimes they get sandalwood, sometimes they get different. Nobody has done that. Nobody has lit some kind of agarbatti, or somebody has brought sandalwood into the room. Then they understand, yes, now we can understand a presence. A presence is felt. It is conscious experience of many people when they enter into the states of dhyana. Because I am there, he says, I am in that original fragrance. I am the fire, I am the Agni, the heat of the Agni also, it is I. I am that vitality inside of all living beings. Each of us have our, what we can say, the teja inside of us. That is the vitality of the divine, is what Krishna is saying. It is I who is who am giving the strength to the ascetic who is doing the tapasya. It is my strength that the tapasya receives. It is my strength that the tapasvi is able to utilize for the tapasya. He goes on, Bijam mam sarvabhutanam vidhi partha sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejas tejas vinamaham. So Krishna says, know me to be the seed of all lives, eternal. O Arjuna, my truth is for you to conceive. He says, no, you have to conceive it. It is not, it is there. Only you have to conceive it. I am the seed, I am the bija, is what he says. I am the wisdom in the awakened intellectual, and it is my radiance that the illumined receive. So again, sometimes the intellectual prowess of some people we see and we wonder, where is this? How is it coming from? Krishna says, no, it is mine only. Don't give credit to that intellectual. It is understand its source. Sometimes the greatest debates are won in such a brilliant way, and we wonder how. It is outerworldly, this person's skill. Well, it is that divine skill which is present, which you can recognize behind the outer garb of the individual. And he says, it is my radiance that the illumined receive. So the wise one also, they are receiving a particular radiance. Whether they are conscious also, sometimes they are not conscious, but the reception is taking place, is what Krishna says. He goes on, Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosvi bharatar shabha. So here, this is an interesting one. Krishna says, I am the strength of the mighty and the strong, devoid of attachment and passion. Oh Arjuna, I am in the energy of procreation. He says, I am there in the energy of procreation also. I am there. I am in the strength of the very strong ones also. I am the one devoid of attachment and passion. When I am there in that, when there is no attachment, which is uncontrolled attachment or uncontrolled passion also sometimes goes into a rajasic direction. So I am there is what he says. And then he says, I am Dharma's desire. That is not wrong. So one desire which is not wrong is to uphold our Dharma. We've got this. This is the desire which all must have. We must understand what is our Dharma, what is our meaning, what is our direction, our purpose, and we must uphold our Dharma. The day we don't uphold our Dharma, we are doing the greatest injustice on ourselves. So Krishna says this, that see, I am that desire to uphold Dharma. Why do we have so many youngsters willing to lay their lives for a cause which is higher than themselves? Look at the soldiers, look at the people working in different places across the world. This is the young age. People say, go enjoy, party, have drinks, enjoy, go with your family, enjoy, live your happy life. This is not the time to do. You ask the person which is the right time, he'll say no time is right according to them for doing this work. But what is this inside of the individual that gives them that decision, that force inside of them that no, this is what I want to do. It is all right. I will put aside all the other what is maybe pleasurable things which everybody enjoy. It's nice to chill out. It's nice to not get into that. If you look at the soldiers, what young ones, why are they giving up everything? What are they going to get there in the cold? Why are they freezing in the cold? For whom? People don't recognize them also. In society, they come back, they say, you are a fool. I remember in my, we had a school reunion. Somehow all the guys were jealous of one person who was a very, he's become a lieutenant commander. He's got his own people. He had to, inform the police also of his arrival here according to protocols. And everybody was targeting him only, and it's so much that finally the person who brought us all together, he ultimately left the group because he got sick of it and he has other works. Nation comes first, of course. But look at that. He understands it. He understands that this is my Dharma, I will do it. And does his work. And even in there, he created the group and then he went ahead on his work without bothering about what happens. And people even behind his back also, see, he's come again. He's like this, he's like that. But that didn't make a difference to him. So this is what we can understand, upholding our Dharma, our desire. That is the right desire. That is the permitted desire. All other desires will take us down. In the Kathopanishad, they are talked about 101 bonds. Yama clarifies. In Gita, we are talked about 100 bonds. Asha pasha shatair baddhaha. Here is what the Gita talks about. And the Kathopanishad, I was very surprised to see 101. So I was wondering, why is this calculation mistake between Yama and Krishna? Why has Yama added 1? Then later on, verse of Kathopanishad only said, out of this 101, 1 is one which connects us to the higher, or the 100 bring us down. So what is that one? We must understand. Probably understanding that can become very easy if we hold on to our Dharma, our desire to uphold the Dharma. So with this, yes, please. I think Vasudevanji wanted to add something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that not everyone joins the army to protect the nation. You can even see the army recruitment advertisements. You can drive the plane, you can get an engineering degree, you can get a career, etc., etc. So not everybody joins the army for the sole goal of protecting the nation. This is more so these days, But seen as a career. It's seen as a career. They don't. Most of them don't know.
That is our perception, Vasudevanji. That most also will have to do a statistical analysis and then find out. But I know.
Look at the army recruitment advertisements. Nobody mentioned any nation or anything. They say.
I think Vasudevanji, we are digressing. Vasudevanji, I think we are digressing from the main aspect. But we can just go ahead. But do you disagree that those who die for India, who are willing
many of them, see, even people who are Russians who are dying or Ukrainians are dying, Russian soldiers who are dying. I don't think they got into the army so that they will die. They got into some other reason. They are pushed into the battle.
That way,
the US Army,
which profession?
Some 18 years old were put into Gulf War. They didn't know what they are getting into. They just got into because most of them are getting into the army because unfortunately.
Digress. I request Vasudevanji. Can we not digress? Because that way.
No, it's not digressing. I am not digressing. You mentioned that.
I think people are doing Dharma. No, sir. I will. Can we? Because that way, every logic, a profession, any profession you see, that way you will say Gita teacher also is not taking Gita class for sole purpose of Krishnarpanam.
It's all there.
Yes. So it is all right, but let it. We will lose the flow because the discussion and dialogues.
I just don't want to be the army. That people in the army are all.
I think.
Many people who said I got into the Navy or army because I thought I would play the plane, but I ended up in the kitchen.
Vasudevanji,
one thing you are forgetting.
No, sir. I think Hariom. If I may request, because the problem with Tarka and debate is why we are not calling it a session of debate, because both points can be right, and we don't want to go into.
I just want to make a point. I don't want to carry.
Can we not have a discussion? These discussions, because we are looking about Gita, we're not looking about why a person joins the army or why a person does not join. Vasudevanji is saying, yes, there may not be everybody with the highest cause of Dharma, but there are people. We can say at least one person may be there. If that is the case, we are looking at that one person. So let's not move away from the source of our, because we have joined here for getting into the Gita. So let us probably get back into the same thing. So this desire to uphold Dharma is wrong. Maybe I was wrong in giving the example of army. We could have saved these 6 minutes. But let us get back because we want to go into the Gita. So yes, I am that desire for Dharma. Krishna is saying, not me. Krishna is saying holding to Dharma is right. That is one desire which is acceptable. Let us go on. The 12th one. Because everywhere, any profession, anywhere, every human swabhav is there, the Ashtadha Prakriti is there, Mana is there, Buddhi is there, Ankar is there, it's going to come and play. Everybody is not in that highest clarified consciousness who are going to go into that with that purpose. But if we want to align with the higher consciousness, we will have to identify the best. We go into the park, we will see all types of people in the park. We could see different types of people, some of them who are enjoying, some of them, or some, we can also see some places dogs are also pooping everywhere. What do we want to see is our question. Where do we want to look at? But let us get back into the session where, let us get back into the Gita. We are just looking at the dialogue of Krishna and Arjuna. We can draw parallels. There is no insistence that you must interpret it the way it is being interpreted. We have that freedom. Krishna has given that freedom. So I would like to probably apologize for the army example. So I will not give that again in this session. So we don't.
Army is a great example.
No, but whatever, Rajiv, I do not want to. I do not want to engage in further discussion on this.
I just want to finish my comment. I don't want to declare. Army is a great example. Not everybody enters the army for protecting the nation. That's
Vasudevan, your point has been accepted. Like I've said before, I am in depth for that. But let us please continue with our session. Yes, please. Hari Om. 12th shloka. Ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasa tamasascha ye matta eveti tan vidhi natvaham teshu te mai. All modes of ignorance, passion or goodness, it is from me that they have manifested from. Even though they all exist within my oneness, I exist not in their outer form. Now, I think I just require 1 minute to come back into the Gita. Hari Om. Yes. So yes, all these three modes, the three modes we have been introduced of Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. These three modes have been now, probably earlier we have seen about Rajas. Anybody recognizes when Krishna spoke about Rajas? Yes, please. When was it that Rajas was introduced before to us in the Gita? Krishna was asked a question by Arjuna. Why? Why is it that people sin? Kamesha, Krodhesha, Rajoguna. Yes, can we recollect what is it that Rajas was that reason, Rajas was that passion, but uncontrolled passion that led to that force inside of an individual, that uncontrolled force only brings about sin, Rajas Guna. Yes, please, Srinivasji.
When we were on yoga, this word was introduced.
Yes, yes,
we were discussing about yoga.
Yeah.
When we were discussing about yoga, this Rajas, Tamas, and these words were introduced.
Yes, and Arjuna was asked, why are people, if you are talking about divinity, why do people do wrong deeds? Why do people go in, why is there sin? Why are people doing wrong things if you are saying there is divinity inside? That time Krishna responds that...
The first two enemies. Yeah.
Yes, Kamesha, Krodhesha. And these two enemies have been born out of Rajas. So we have seen about Ashtada Prakriti, a Prakriti that is functioning inside of all of us. So then like that, there are these three natures also, three gunas, out of which one is Rajas. Rajas is that guna which is causing passion, and it is also uncontrolled Rajas leads to. So we have not been explained in detail, but today we have again been touched on the topic of the three gunas. So Krishna says, he says, of all modes of ignorance, passion and goodness, all the three gunas also have come from me. So if we want ignorance, we can call it tamas. Tamas is nothing but ignorance. Passion is, we can call it rajas. And goodness can be called sattva. Of course, in detail, we will be looking at it later. There will be more than a chapter dedicated to these three gunas. Krishna says, it is from me that they have manifested from. Even though they all exist within my oneness, I exist not in their outer form. Krishna says, even though they are all existing together in my oneness, I do not exist in the outer form of, meaning all three are born and divinity is there inside, and yet on the outside we don't recognize the divinity. We do not allow that divinity to manifest. Divinity is inside, hidden, quietly. All these gunas also are receiving the strength from me. Yet, can we see the divine everywhere on the outside? It is not possible. And Krishna says this is exactly how these three gunas are also functioning. They are functioning, getting the powers from me, but my divinity is not present on the outside. This is the biggest problem. The day we see divinity on the outside, then there is this, again, there's a beautiful bhajan, Kheva Mandiela Vayavanti Ghai, Naachati Vaishnava Bhai Re. All the Vaishnavas are dancing and they do not want anything, they are just dancing in laughter. And Eka Meka Lagatila Paire means each will touch each other's feet in respect, recognizing the divinity in the other. That is the beauty, is what Krishna is here saying. I am not present on the outside, though I am present on the inside. That aspect of becoming conscious is what sadhana is about. But man is not aware. So what does he do when he is not aware? He does all his deeds in his state of ignorance. That is the reason where all the problems happen. Tribhir gunamair bhavair ebhi sarvamidam jagat mohitam nabhijanati mamebhya paramapyayam. By these three modes, man bewildered goes. Man does not understand, he is not conscious. So what's going to happen? Something happens, Rajas Guna will function inside of the individual. Something happens, Tamas Guna will function inside of the individual. Something happens, suddenly Sattvic Guna. Even Sattvic Guna is not in that person's control. Sometimes people become Sattvic after a different experience. Sometimes Rajasic because the food they have eaten also is making them Rajasic. Tamasic also, it's like I said, if I had we had Gita sessions in the afternoon and everybody were given curd rice, I would not have 1.5 hour session only. It would be just 15-20 minutes. Everybody would have that feeling of nidra, because this is the guna of the ahar which is eaten. Curd rice in South India, it is a common, there is a lot of, it's a very important dish which is good for the body, all of it. But it does have a soporific effect. It has an effect which induces sleep. So this is one guna which is getting transferred. Only those who are conscious understand. I think many of my friends would say, no, I am not going to bring curd rice to school, because today this class I am having, and every time I feel sleepy. If I eat this and come to this class, I will 100% fall asleep and get in punishment. So something like that. These gunas are functioning. We don't understand the flux. Why? We have these Panchamahabhutas are there. Mana, Buddhi, Ahankar. Most of the problem is the last portion, because that person, that individual, that force inside of this feels that, yes, this is known. Everything is understood. And so consciousness of the three gunas is not there, is what Krishna says. And the truth of my divinity never knows. Such a person who is bewildered by the gunas will never understand the divinity of the truth of my existence. Krishna says, why? Because the person is trapped on the outer circle, not willing to go inside. For when one is hoodwinked by the three, my supreme imperishable existence, he can never see. And there's nothing worse than that. Imagine if you can see the beauty and wonderful life, as Krishna Sri Aurobindo said in this poem, in even a quiet smile of the bride also, you can see the divinity. You can see the blush of a girl, and the blush of a boy, and the beauty of nature. And if you can see that, how beautiful will our perception of life be? That yes, this hand that has spent that great Jupiter spinning, that has done all its intricate designing, like great fashion designing, for what? For making a curl, a fashionable curl, for making that beauty. That is the perception of divinity. And that is the first step for recognizing the divine, first in the universe, then inside of oneself. That sakshatkar can come only if that perception is there. If the perception is not there, what's going to happen? Krishna says, no, the person will never recognize my existence. And not becoming conscious of the divine is also a very sad fate as well. Krishna goes on, Devi Hyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. This is another beautiful shloka. It talks about Maya. Earlier Maya has been just introduced. Now Krishna says this is the trap of Maya. Maya is that which puts a garb in front of our eyes. We do not see the truth, it's in front of us. Isha Upanishad says even the truth, Hiranyamayena patrena satyasyapi tam mukham tattvam pushanam apabruno satya dharmaya drishtir. The yogis who are already seekers of truth, who are advanced seekers, they also with all humility they say, no, this is golden which is glittering is not the truth also. This lid is also false. I see the golden lid. Means they have come to that truth where they are able to see the golden lid. But they are saying, no, there is a truth behind this golden lid also, which I don't want to stop here. I want to go to that truth, and Satya Dharma is going to be understood there only. What is this Dharma? What is this highest truth of Dharma? It has to be broken. That is that wheel, that is the Maya. Maya makes us forget everything. We don't realize anything. Our life goes in flashes in Maya, but we don't realize the truth. We are always trapped in the Maya only. Krishna says, this is Maya, the illusion divine, that engulfs every creation of mine. Crossing over the wheel can very hard be, but only by surpassing it can one approach me. So it's very difficult to cross it. Maya is that mirage. You are thirsty in the desert. You know you want water, but your perception is blurred. and you say, no, I'll run after that oasis. Somebody who is an experienced person tells you, no, don't go there. It is not an oasis. He says, don't tell me what an oasis is. I know I can see an oasis. I'll run towards it. And the person ignores that also advice and goes running after and recognizes and sees that, oh, it was just sand. All whatever little energy inside was remaining, that has also been expended in running after that water, when this is not existent also. This is Maya. It is very difficult to cross the wheel, but only by surpassing it can you approach. Divine cannot be approached without crossing this wheel of Maya, is what Krishna is saying. So it is one way. We will look at one more shloka of Maya and we'll stop here. We'll probably look at a small story on Maya and then end. We will continue with 16th shloka tomorrow. So Namem Dushkrutino Mudaha Prapadyante Naradhamaha. This is a very strong word Krishna is using. Mudha Naradhamaha. He says, Mayayapa Ritagnana Asuram Bhavamasritaha. The foolish and the evil do not attain me, he is saying. Why? For in their bewilderment, the truth they do not see. They do not see the truth and they will never attain me, is what Krishna says. Because they are holding on to that only, is what Krishna. This is the illusion of Maya. Disillusioned by Maya, they resort to base means, governed by the lower nature of the demonic realms. What happens when you are trapped in Maya? Then my senses are everything. My indriyas are everything. My mind is everything. All what I understand, my ahankar is everything. In that, will you see the truth? No, you will only see reflection of your own ahankar everywhere, your own desires, your own indriyas. That is all you are going to do. And what will you do in that process? And slowly, as your consciousness lowers, in wrong consciousness, you do wrong unconscious acts, which sometimes lead to we can say results which cannot be changed also sometimes. We do so many things sometimes unconsciously and then we wonder, why did we do this? Should we have done this? Should we have not done it? But this is the problem with Maya. It controls, and Krishna says this is why. Then how we can escape is also there in the part of the Gita. How this trap of Maya can be escaped. Krishna never leaves us like that in darkness. He has the light. He is the light, and he shows us how we can come to him also. So, but we'll stop because next one would require some more deliberation. There are even those who are seeking God are also seeking in one of the four ways. That's some kind of, it's a manual only. Even Bhakta will walk in one of the four ways depending on his nature. Ravana will become a Bhakta like Ravana's nature only because that is his nature. He will go that way. The path of devotion also is according to some kind of prakriti. But let us stop here at shloka number 15. And just to kind of lighten up, we'll complete with a story of on this Maya only. There was this beautiful dialogue and experience between Krishna and Narada. Everybody is aware of Narada, is it not? Yes, Narayana, everywhere he is gone and he's done a lot of what they say in Hindi, chabi, and created so many things. He would go and start, he would say something here, this would lead to something else. He was always in the state of consciousness, always Narayana, always one of the greatest bhaktas of Krishna, of Narayana himself. So, they're having a walk. And that time Krishna talks about Maya to him. And Narada is like, yes, but what do I need to worry about Maya? He says, because Krishna, you are there. I am always having smaran of you. And Krishna also laughs and he says, yes, probably that is one truth we can draw inference also, that if we have the smaran of the divine, we will understand. It's like, yes, we are thirsty, but at least we have faith and Shraddha, or we understand consciously we are present. Divine will give us direction also. We might listen. Divine is coming, telling, don't go to the oasis. That is not the oasis, it's somewhere else. You say, you'll probably have the perception at time. It's not the logical thing, it's a perception inside. But whatever it is, so Krishna also smiles and he says, all right, you get me some water. And Narada goes. So he goes in search of water. Now, as he goes, he sees two factions of people fighting against each other. And it's not just some verbal fight. Always opposite opinions will lead to fights only, and both are having weapons in hands. And there are groups of people, and they're having so many people this side, so many people this side. Narada is seeing this. He's always a detached person. He's not from this party. He's not from that party. He looks at it and he says, "Oh my God, this fight is going to lead to a lot of bloodshed." Now he thinks I should do something about it. So he goes and he tries to talk to them, and they say, "Oh, you don't understand. We have been for 10 years. This fight has been going on. This will never get solved. You won't understand anything." He says, no, it's all right. Let me hear your point of view. He hears his point of view. That person hears the other person's point of view also. So both sides, and suddenly he gets one, and he's now in a state which is beyond this of pro and against. He's just in one place. From there, he's able to quickly identify, and he says, "Why not do this way? This person's view also is kept. This person's also, because again, truth is about bringing reconciliation of even opposites." And Narada speaks something, and suddenly everybody is surprised, and they say, "What? This idea never came to us. What a brilliant suggestion." I think we are willing to take one step back. The other person is willing to take another step back, and that state of fight has suddenly disappeared. And they're all happy because bloodshed has been averted. Nobody wanted to. Fight was going to take place. It would have led to a lot of problem. But instead, now this situation has come. And Narada is happy and fine, it's happened. These two are so overwhelmed. They say, please come and meet our king. He would be grateful to it, would, because this is something which he has also not been able to solve for so many years. So they take to the king. The king greets Narada with all the respect a Muni like Narada deserves. And the king also is a spiritual person. So he has some enlightened discussion with Narada. And these are not just some discussions, these are higher level discussions. Something good comes out of it. Then Narada, he says, Narada, if it is such a great thing that you are a Muni, but yet you have come into this for helping, and by your guidance, such a great problem was averted. If your counsel would help us, it would be so wonderful. And he says, can you just help and guide? Narada says, fine, if it is for Lokasangraha. Krishna has also told in the Gita, Lokasangraha only is the aim for everybody. That is the common aim. And he says, fine, all right. So this Narada guides him, and then he says, see, I think this kingdom is really prospering. He says, I just want to I will go to now Vanaprastha ashram. It's enough. I have done all that I have to do. Now if you see, there are these 4 ashramas in life, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi. So it's an age where first you are receiving wisdom, then you're fulfilling your duties, then is now for sadhana and parting that wisdom. Now is that phase. He says, please look after this kingdom. I would like to offer it to you. And he calls his daughter also. And the daughter somehow secretly has a great admiration for Narada also. And she's extremely beautiful. And he says, please, she is your wife, accept her as your wife, and you can rule this kingdom. And Narada says, yes, it is fine for the betterment of the world. Why not? And he agrees and he accepts. And when Narada becomes the king, it's it's like a yogi becoming a king. It's something like that. He is now not having desires. So he works in such a way that a great alliance is formed. Great prosperity is there for that kingdom. And around the kingdom also, great people, all warring factions have come together. They are now afraid of Narada's strength also. Plus they see he is a good person to lead. And so everywhere prosperity is happening. But in life, always prosperity is not there. So suddenly there is this state of drought, and then there's a difficult, nature is creating difficulties in this world. Like that kingdom also faces. That period, his resources, it happens for a long period. So all his resources are getting depleted. At that time, one of the neighboring kingdom feels this is the right opportunity to attack. This is the only time Narada will be weak. He will never be weaker than today. Let us attack him. And so he attacks. Narada fends off this attack successfully. His military commander follows his instructions, everything. But now this person will attack, so everybody see that as a good chance and all start attacking him one after the other. Now Narada is not able to face all of it, and then his kingdom falls. And somehow his commander comes to him and he says, Narada, please escape. He says, no, I will not escape. I will die with this kingdom, but I will not. He says, no, if you are there, tomorrow another kingdom will be there. He says, go and you escape with your wife and your children. Narada has 3 children. All 3 of them also, he takes them across and they find a separate secret way. And as Narada is treading there, he sees he has to now run in disguise in the same kingdom which he was owning. He was the leader of that same kingdom. He has become now a refugee and he is escaping. People are on the verge to kill him. And now his food also, what ration he had with him is deteriorating. People are already not having in their homes. Finally, slowly they go, and after a few days, Narada has only 1 morsel of food remaining with him. And that he's saving it for his children. One beggar, one very tired, hungry beggar comes to him and says, I have not eaten for 3 days. Please give me at least 1 morsel. You give me that 1 morsel, I will survive. Please help me. Please help me. And now he says, Dharma Sankat. Should I give it to my children or should I give it to this person? Wife gets angry. He says, no, you cannot give it. And he says, no, I cannot lose my sabhava, my nature. Everything will be fine. I will give it to him. And he gives it to that person, the last morsel that he has. And that side, his son falls. Same time, his son faints. His wife gets angry and she says, find something for him. He goes after search of somebody to help take care of the child. As he comes back, he sees all three children are lying on the ground. Wife gets angry. She says, I am not even going to do Antam Sanskar. It was a curse getting married to you. And she just walks away. Narada is shocked. He's not understanding. He's done what his Dharma is. He's not able to understand. Then he goes to his lifeless body of the child and suddenly he screams out loud because now all his control is over and he calls upon, he's like, Narayana, Krishna, he shouts. Suddenly he sees Krishna is asking what happened to the glass of my water. So what has happened? Krishna had asked for a glass of water. Narada got trapped into Maya. His ahankar. He thought he is in control. This was all imagination. This was Maya. Krishna gave him an anubhav of Maya. How Maya traps. What has happened? Though Krishna, Narada is considered a great bhakta. Narada is lost in his own ahankar. He thinks he is a great bhakta. He has forgotten that he has come here. Why has he come? He's come for a glass of water. But look at how one after the other he gets slowly caught into Maya. At all points it was Krishna's Maya that was functioning and he didn't realize. And this is exactly how Maya is. Now my question is, if Narada can get trapped in Maya, what about all of us? That is my question. Yes, please.
Yes, we all do get trapped.
We are all somewhere there. Is it not? We are trapped in Maya, we can say. We do not know it fully. So what is the secret? What is the way to come out if we look at this story? What is the way to come out of this trap of Maya?
When we are born, when we are here in this earth.
Why we are here on this earth is what Vasudevanji is saying. Okay, but then again, Narada was knowing he's doing Loka Sangraha. According to Narada, he was doing his works.
He forgot he came for water.
So yes, that's Smriti. But now, how will we understand why we are born suddenly? Will I know what will happen in my last birth or why I am one of the Sapta Rishis? Can I suddenly get that Sakshatkar? No, I cannot get that Sakshatkar. How will we know that? They want to escape.
Yes, tell me.
No, we'll let us see. Gita is answering. And the story has an example here. How to come out of it. Yes, please. Look at the point. When did Narada realize he was in Maya? What was his thing? When was it?
When he saw his kids like that, then that's the time he called Narayan.
Okay, but that was the moment. But yes, Dr. Poonamji, yes, please.
He called out for Krishna.
Surrender to God.
Complete surrender.
When he recalls Narayana, then only he realizes.
Full surrender, yes. Yes, is it not? So the full surrender, perfectly said by Dr. Poonamji, full surrender, it's like absolute surrender. That time you are conscious of the divine presence. Even Draupadi, when the Vastraharan was going on, in the last she surrendered to Krishna, not before. Why didn't you call? Before was the question. No. Yudhishthira, why didn't he take smaran of Krishna while playing the die? Why? No, I will do it now. This is not a good act. I should not think of Krishna. No, that was all this problem. Why? Because this is Maya. Maya prevents us from surrendering to the divine only. We think we are doing right. Our intellect, we have seen the level of Indriyas. Mana, higher than Mana is the Buddhi, and then there is the Supreme. It's a big sopana. We are still lost in Indriya and Mana. When will we reach that place? And Maya will enjoy as long as we are in Indra and Indriyas and Mana, the level of mind and Indriyas, we are perfectly trapped into Maya. We are not able to escape. Full surrender. So this is the wonderful, what we can say, lesson from that story of surrender. Surrender to the divine. When we surrender, Krishna is going to lead us. He'll hold us. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam is a promise he has said. Then why are we worrying? What are we worrying? Why are we going to try to, influence outcomes? Why are we going to try to manipulate things or allow our own ego, our own, understanding to be everything in the world? We can probably behind. Yes, Dadami Buddhi Yogam, he will give the Buddhi also. But surrender is something which is very important. Arjuna learned that, but it is a difficult thing. Surrender, if you see, even yogi like Muni like Narada is an exalted Muni who is surrendered to the divine. But surrender is not a one-step process, it's a lifelong process. The more and more we go, because ultimately, if you see the words which Krishna uses are very strong. Mudha naradhamaha. Means worst of human beings are those who are entering and trapped in Maya. They do all the wrong things. They insult God. They try to even put Krishna in jail. All these things happen. But ultimately divine will manifest. So this is the part, I think with this, I'll conclude with the Shanti Mantra, after which any discussion, anything, we are most welcome. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyanto, ma kasyit dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tatsat. Krishna Mandir Jagat Guru. Hari Om. Om Shanti Shanti. Yes, please. Anybody wishes, you are most welcome to share.
I think most of us, including myself, would have surrendered much earlier because Narada was so great. He was trying his best. I don't know. That's my feeling.
Okay, Ji.
We wouldn't have been pushed to the wall.
But if you see, Narada began by saying, Krishna, I have already surrendered to you. Why will I get trapped in Maya? Because Narada was thinking he has surrendered to Krishna, and that's why he laughed and he said, see, I am thinking of Krishna only. How will I get trapped in Maya? So Maya is like that, very subtle. We don't know how it is like some kind, most contagious, what we have like now, pandemic was going on. So something like that. It spreads so easily. That is the power of Maya, probably. Yes, please. Srinivas, you want to add something?
About complete surrendering, by complete surrendering, I think one must first lose ego. Even if it's a fraction of the ego is there in you, you cannot surrender to the divine.
Because aham is there.
For that matter, yes, aham. Yes. So there should not be a semblance of ego in you. Then only you can do full surrendering.
The mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram says ego is a helper, ego is a bar. Meaning sometimes ego helps. Initial stages also sadhana theek hai. It's like, yes, I'll go, I am like this, I will do this great tapasya. See, I have great mental concentration, I will meditate this much time. And after a while, that only becomes the problem. Slowly, that aham, which is a very small, tiny aham, which pretends it is the supreme, has to be thrown away, and then we can get that soham, that higher aham can realization of the divine. You will see that as well. That is the real, the